Hey, are you interested in staying current on the latest automation testing trends? Look no further. In this video, I'm going to share my top 13 testing trends for 2023. From AI-powered testing tools to cloud testing environments, these innovations will shape the future of automated testing. Don't be left behind. Tune in and learn what you need to know to stay ahead of the curve, and make sure to stay all the way to the end to hear the top trend that you need to know for 2023. And if you like this video, why not subscribe and hit the bell to get alerted every time I release a new video? First, you might be wondering, where do I get my predictions for my top 13 automation trends? Every year, I pick up on trends from interviewing a lot of folks on my automation and performance and site reliability podcasts, and from sessions on my online webinars and events. I also run a weekly news show called the Test Guild DevSecOps News Show that helps me get a pulse for what is currently happening in the software testing space. This helps me to predict where things are going based on topics that appear frequently throughout the year. This also helps me learn what companies' technologies are receiving investments from investors. And money is always assigned to where the market is heading. Also, every year before my annual online test automation conference, Automation Guild, I run a survey to my past guild attendees and ask them two main questions. One, what is your single biggest automation challenge right now? And two, what topics do you want to learn more about? Then I take that information, I throw it in a bunch of word clouds, and then that helps me pull out topics that I think are going to trend in the current year as well. This gives me another clear indicator of what test engineers in the real world are using and struggling with. So with that in mind, here's my list of the top 13 trends for 2023. First trend is innovation in mobile testing. So tooling within the mobile application automation space hasn't had the same amount of time to develop compared to, say, web application automation. I think mobile automation is still in its infancy as far as what tools and frameworks are available to allow you to combat that flakiness and maintain your scripts that you see with mobile automation. But based on 2022, I see this changing, where in the last few years, AI machine learning has been focused mainly on web-based testing. I see this now extending even more now to mobile. This goes along with the new tech trends that we're currently seeing ourselves in with commercialized artificial intelligence. So that's why you're seeing a lot more codeless, scriptless-based automation solutions that is AI-driven being released to the market. And some of the examples over the years that I've seen that point towards this mobile automation future based on podcast interviews are Mobot. If you don't know, Mobot is a mobile app testing service which is powered by supervised mechanical robots. The best way is to imagine Mobot as a fleet of mechanical fingers in the cloud that can interact with your mobile devices or a hardware device, just like a real user. Also, I spoke to Cobaton multiple times throughout the year. They have a really intelligent quality suite which leverages AI to support scripted mobile Appium automated scripts, but it acts almost like a wrapper on top of Appium that gives you all the features of scriptless and codeless technology and a bunch of other technology that can help make your tests less flaky and more maintainable. Also, a newer company, DevTools AI, I believe they just started last year, use artificial intelligence to automate web pages and mobile apps without the need to dig into page source. So this is a good example of where companies are focusing their efforts on. And also LoadMill. LoadMill leverages APIs for all kinds of test automation, including mobile test automation. And we're going to learn more about them in another trend coming up. And as I mentioned in the intro, a key indicator of where things are going is following the money. So the first money indicator is Waldo. Waldo raised $15 million for its automated mobile testing services in February of 2022. And also Mobot raised $12.5 million in Series A funding in August of 2022. I think this trend is so important that we decided to include multiple sessions on mobile testing at this year's Automation Guild. If you haven't checked out Automation Guild, definitely head on over to automationguild.com and register now, because a lot of the trends we cover in this session actually will be covered at the Automation Guild in detail. All right, so the second trend I'm predicting is continuous accessibility test automation. So almost everyone I spoke with last year, whether on my podcast or live events, all talked about accessibility testing. And over the years, I've seen major testing techniques slowly being shifted left in the software development lifecycle. I originally saw this with functional automation, making the push left, performance testing, the last couple of years, more so security testing as well. And that's why I'm predicting 2023 is going to be the year we finally see continuous accessibility testing making the shift. And I really started to formulate this idea last year when I spoke to Tamar, founder of a startup company called Sensit, during an Applitools Future of Testing event. And Tamar is developing automated testing for digital accessibility. She said her team started working on accessing digital products manually for clients, and over time they found this process to be really tedious, as I'm sure you're finding as well. And it really started to resemble a digital hamster wheel with clients depending on them to test, assess, return from remediation, reassess the product for remediation, and then continue this process repeatedly over and over again. So Tamar mentioned that this knowledge of accessibility testing really needs to be in the hands of the company. And I completely agree. Accessibility, compliance testing, assessment must be addressed early on and continually. So what you need is an automated solution that knows how to do the interaction just like you're doing with your functional testing. And Tamar's vision and mine, as well as what I've also seen applied to security and performance, is the ability to leverage your functional tests to also find ways to use those to interact with your product from an accessibility perspective. So you can simultaneously test accessibility while executing your current test automation suite by leveraging your functional test scripts that your company already has. And this is definitely a trend I see happening in 2023. My third trend is what I'm calling unified functional management platforms, or forms of full functioning or full test management platforms. There's been an increased focus on automation and DevOps. Software delivery is faster than ever before. And automation testing is essential for balancing software quality with the accelerated velocity of release cycles. But the tool chain that is supposed to enable automation testing has many, many moving parts. Test automation really becomes almost a parallel development project in many organizations. Plus, there's a huge upfront and ongoing resource, tech, and expertise costs with developing automation from scratch or your own frameworks from scratch. And to me, this has led to a new breed of test automation systems that will grow in popularity in 2023. This is not your father's test director. If you're old like me, you probably heard of test director before. These are platforms designed for modern software testing. And although the automation capabilities for testing have been mainly solved by tools like Appium and Selenium and other frameworks, there's still a gap in the industry for a unified platform that helps manage the entire automation lifecycle. And actually, on my podcast last year, I heard of a lot of examples of these type of solutions. First one is Test Sigma. Test Sigma is an open source, unified, fully customizable platform that works out of the box, and it's built to help you create end-to-end tests faster for web, mobile apps, and APIs. It also enables an English-like script syntax that has self-healing, enables maintenance-free test functionality, and a whole bunch more. So it encompasses more than just automation. You can look at results, reports, the whole thing from soup to nuts. These are the type of solutions I'm seeing as the future. Another few companies that actually fit this model that I think a lot of companies are going to follow in 2023 are Test Results.io. Once again, it's another next generation functional automation platform. But what's different about this, think of like Applitools for visual validation plus Sakuli, but with the more sophisticated algorithm that actually can drive your applications using image-based type of automation. So this allows you to automate all types of things, not just web browsers. It allows you to automate desktop applications against all the OSs, all the platforms, and helps your team to quickly create more reliable automation that mimics precisely how your end user uses your application, because it uses image visual validation testing that can also drive the user interface without using a solution like Selenium. It also uses something called model-based testing that enables this as well. And I also saw Tricentis Test Automation. It's a new product I just heard about maybe in the last few months of 2022, and it delivers frictionless access to a really intuitive UI that helps speed up learning and accelerate teaming on automation. So it allows everything to be stored in one place where you can access and reuse test assets and build complex multiple app test cases, leveraging your team's expertise, and really simplifies and accelerates automation. So I just picked these three just to kind of point to what I mean by this unified type of testing platform. I think it's going to become more and more the norm and something you definitely need to check out. And also, once again, if you were to follow the money on this, Test Sigma also raised $4.6 million for this platform as well. All right, one question I always get asked every year, and I cover every year, is what are the top testing programming languages for 2023? So test engineers usually want to know what programming languages they should learn. And I've seen a few sites that track the popularity of languages in 2022, and many of them have them listed in a similar order, and they are Python and Java. This is based on more from a developer perspective, but how does this jive with what employers want for SDATs or software testers? Well, just for fun, I looked up the job descriptions of test engineers at the top 20 Silicon Valley companies, and I took all those requirements and I plopped them in a word cloud to find out if there was any correlation between the popular languages that developers use and the skills that the companies are looking for when it comes to software testing. And as you can see by this word cloud over here, it does pop up Python and Java as some of the requirements for a lot of these testing positions that are being posted as well. So the next three are kind of related, and they all have to do with data. So the first one is DataOps for testers. And last year in my top trends, I mentioned that the rise of cloud native testing is going to be going up. And I believe that a lot of these trends coming up now are the result of the shift to cloud native. Because of the shift, there's a lot more volume, a lot more data spread across the multiple clouds, making it more challenging to discover, manage, and control the data. So I recently had the pleasure of hosting an online event for ITTS Query Surge dedicated to data testing. And the founder, Bill Haddock, told me that, and he told me according to this recent IDC study, 80% of organizations are storing more than half the data in hybrid and multi-cloud infrastructure. Also, 79% of organizations have over 100 data sources, and 30 have over 1,000. And this data is flowing in from other applications, websites, and everywhere. And only 6% of organizations really have a plan for their data and how to control all this data coming in. Also, Gartner also recently published a report, and they had some interesting quotes as well. And one of them was poor data quality costs organizations on average $12.9 million, and it increases the complexity of data ecosystems that leads to poor decision making. And also, data quality is a competitive advantage that data and analytics leaders need to improve upon continuously. I also think this applies to software developers and testers. So obviously, Gartner feels that there's a big spotlight on data and data quality. And I also noticed the World Quality Report surveyed around 7,000 senior executives across multiple sectors from different countries. And one of the most interesting things is that for the first time in 14 years, the World Quality Report mentioned data validation. And they said 88% of those polled agreed that a robust data validation capability will only improve efficiencies in terms of time and resources, but more importantly, will help to improve business decision making. So if you're a tester, data validation, I think, is going to be huge in 2023 and continuing. Query Surge is a testing solution that automates the data validation and ETL testing of big data, data warehouses, and business intelligence reports. And what's really good about tools like Query Surge, it allows you to also automate your data in your pipelines with the tool. And I'm sure based on this trend, you're going to see more and more of this as well. So all this talk of data actually might explain the next trend. And that trend is testers will also need to know SQL. So based on the same survey we looked at for programming language, there's also been a rising popularity of SQL. So they mentioned they looked at hundreds of job listings while compiling their programming rankings, and they found that the strength of SQL signal is not just because there's a lot of employees looking for just SQL coders. It's more they're looking for, a Java expert that also knows SQL, an automation expert that also knows SQL. So it's like a plus SQL. So a lot of them want a plus SQL in their requirements. And this also holds true for testers. So just like I did for programming languages for testers, I also did a search for test automation plus SQL. I found multiple jobs looking for automation engineers that also know SQL. So if you look at this word cloud, see the arrow, it's pointing to SQL as one of the most requested skills that they look for within an automation SDAT type of job posting. Speaking of data, get ready now for the rise of synthetic data in testing. So I said these three are kind of all related. If you don't know what synthetic data is, it's artificially generated data that's really designed to mimic real-world data, and it can be used in a variety of contexts, including software development and testing. So in software development, synthetic data can be used to test and debug code without the need for real-world data, and this is especially useful in test cases where it's difficult or impossible to obtain real-world data, or where real-world data would pose a risk. For example, privacy concerns. I used to work in healthcare. You can't use real data info or real patient data info because you'll get in trouble. So synthetic data can then be used to simulate various scenarios or edge cases that may be difficult to test with real-world data. So in software testing, synthetic data can be used to test functionality and performance of software applications, and it can help ensure the application is working correctly and as intended, and can be used to stress the application to see how it performs under heavy load. And test data is really important for software testing because if you're using bad data, it doesn't matter what kind of testing you're doing, your testing isn't going to be successful. Your testing really, your test suite, your automation all relies on having really good, valid data to work with. And overall, synthetic data can be a valuable tool in software development and testing because it allows developers and testers to work with data that is similar to real world, but without all the limitations and risks associated with real data. And as you know, data is also the lifeblood of modern artificial intelligence. So getting the data right, especially in testing, is one of the most important and most challenging part of building a robust test suite that leverages anything to do with AI and machine learning. And that's probably why I'm hearing more about multiple companies that focus solely on this space. So I spoke with a lot of different solutions in this space in 2022, and that's why I think we're going to see even more in 2023. One of them is Tonic, which is a platform that enables teams to create the data that they need. So it's more like a dashboard or a platform that has all the tools you need to generate your data for your team the way you need it. And Tonic has multiple, they call them generators, that actually can read your data and then creates almost like building blocks that you can then use to mix and match to specify the data types that you're trying to protect or synthesize and fake. And also, mostly AI completely removes the need to use production data. Or another solution I heard about was Mostly AI, which really completely removes the need to use production data or create dummy data, which is what many teams or testers are still using. Also, besides the clear privacy issues that we talked about earlier, another thing with the test data, it's a massive time thief. The huge chunk of testers' time spent writing test data, which no one really wants to do. It's a waste of time. So using these tools helps you scale up your synthetic data creation. Also, Gartner predicts that 20% of all test data for consumer-facing use cases will be synthetically generated by 2025. And so this is a perfect time for you to get on board with the synthetic data train. It's a growing trend. I think it fills a huge void that's been around for 25 plus years of my experience within the industry. Also, really quick, if you follow the money, you could see Mostly AI actually raised $25 million last year, and Tonic raised $35 million in 2021. So obviously, investors are betting on this area as well. So my next prediction is AI automation in production. So using AI in production to help test your application is another trend I've heard more about in 2022. So one of the companies I think really takes a lead here in AI in production is LoadMill. So LoadMill is a test automation platform focused on backend and API testing, and it's an AI algorithm that can analyze your user behavior in production and automatically turn that analyzed traffic into automated API tests. You can even import the data from monitoring solutions and then feed it into LoadMill. And LoadMill takes all that info and creates a uber realistic, real-world, user-based automated tests based on that scenario automatically. So think of it as a web automated recording tool, but for APIs. I've seen other tools also that take production data and automatically create real-world models for you that could then generate automated tests for you as well. And that's another trend I see in 2023. So looking at the recordings and analyzing them from a QA perspective, I think brings you closer to the actual customer and replicates real customer behavior rather than guessing now, because we're using AI in production to help us feed testing approach throughout the software development lifecycle. Another use case for AI in production is helping automate infrastructure in production. So for instance, one company, Optimus, focuses on optimizing your apps with smart and safe autonomous tuning in production. I actually spoke with Stefano, who is a co-founder and CTO at Optimus, on my Performance and Site Reliability podcast in 2022. And he talked about how their solution actually can observe applications in production. And over time, you can understand the parts of your application along with traffic patterns. And based on that history, its AI models can then make recommendations or automatic adjustments to fix issues as they occur in real time before users even realize it. I think these types of solutions are primed for massive growth in 2023. So definitely keep your eye on them as well. So the next trend, number 9, is API simulation. And I think this also relates to going cloud native. A lot of companies now are changing their approach to development and focusing more on microservices and API. But the problem is, how do you interact with services that may not be available? If you don't know, API simulation is the process of simulating the behavior of an application programming interface, an API, to test the functionality and performance of a software application. So in software testing, API simulation involves creating a simulation of an API and using that to test the application rather than using the real API. So API simulation could be useful in several different contexts. For example, it could be used to test the integration of an application with an external API, such as a third-party service or an internal API within an organization. And it could also be used to test the performance and reliability of an application under various conditions, such as high traffic or different network configurations. To actually see a good example of this, you should check out the webinar I did with Parasoft's Grigori on Take Control of Your Test Environments with API Simulation. There's some really cool examples of how this is done. And so API simulation, also known as service virtualization, is something that comes in and stands in when you don't have access to dependencies or don't have access to the real system that you want to mock something that's evolving. So another interview I did was with Chris at Tricentis, and he told me over the last 2 years, he's seen a transformation to a lot of the way people are doing software. So folks are delivering software in a way that they didn't anticipate at all that they would have been 2 years prior. And what that calls for is a lot of change of architecture, a lot of change of services, and rapidly deploying services. And so API simulation can now step in to help you create those new products and deliver at the speed and velocity that's needed nowadays. So I think we're going to see a lot of explosion of service virtualization concepts coming into play over the next couple of years. Number 10 is self-service cloud development environments. So self-service cloud development environments are platforms that allow developers and testers to quickly set up and configure their own development environments in the cloud. So in context of software testing, self-service cloud deployment environments can be used as valuable resources for automating and streamlining the full testing process. And they can provide a range of features and tools that can help improve the efficiency and effectiveness of testing. So some examples are, it allows you to automatically build and deploy pipelines that allow developers to easily test and deploy code changes. It creates virtual machines and containers that can be used to create isolated testing environments. It helps you integrate with testing frameworks and it helps with integration with testing frameworks and tools such as Selenium or JUnit to automate the testing process. It also can act like a collaboration tool that allows both the developers and yourself to work together to share test results and feedback. I also interviewed a lot of people on my podcast that point to this being the new way for software development. One of them was Bunny Shell with Shani. And what Shani said that this basically solves the problem of it works on my machine as a tester. You probably are very familiar with that term. And these technologies create full stack production replicas in the cloud in seconds. And so tell me if this sounds familiar. The way most engineering organizations work is they have developers work on their local Docker, and then they merge them into the main branch. Then it doesn't work because the main branch is different and they're out of sync. And often the versions they forked are already an old version. And then they spend a lot of time reworking the code and merging them into then the staging environment. Because the staging environment is also different. And then they run the test there, find bugs, and then it goes back to the developer. And again, they rework the code, rebuild the application, and then it goes into testing and it starts all over again, this vicious cycle. Instead, a better way would be to use this technology to trigger a full stack environment with every pull request in the cloud. So you can immediately have these environments up and running with production for user acceptance testing with QA for testing purposes. QA does the testing as an isolated environment, and then they could do as much testing in parallel branches as is needed. And if you detect a bug, it's a really quick way to isolate bugs to that specific branch. You don't have to go, I don't know what happened. You know exactly what branch it happened in. And then your developers can then connect to your remote development testing environments and make changes to the cloud or that environment in the cloud. And QA immediately sees those changes. So no need to rebuild and wait again and again and again. So it makes it very simple to tear up and tear down, to merge code, and that's it. It keeps all your environments always in sync. So the kind of challenges we saw or we talked about don't occur ever again. Also, the idea of a full stack environment, the code quality that developers can produce is much higher, and the feedback loop between dev and QA is much, much faster. So in my webinar with Playwright and Ufeezy, Supercharging Your Test Efficiency with Josh Thurman and Butch mentioned that using this approach has helped to create smaller feedback loops for his teams, making it possible for his team to be able to test things quicker and get things out the door a lot faster as well. So real world of someone using it and how he mentions it's a must-have for anyone. So definitely, if you're not using these type of environments, I highly recommend you at least start researching them in 2023 to help your teams create better, high-quality software faster. So speaking of environments, another trend I think is about to really take off is platform engineering. So platform engineering is a discipline that focuses on the design, development, and maintenance of software platforms. And the software platform is a set of technologies and tools that provide a foundation for building, deploying, and running software applications. So with software testing, platform engineering plays a critical role in ensuring the quality and reliability of software applications. And this can involve a bunch of activities as a tester, like designing and implementing the infrastructure and tools needed to support the testing process, including continuous integration and continuous delivery, including environments for automation testing, performance testing, and security testing. You can develop and maintain test frameworks and libraries that can help you use to automate the testing process. And also, once again, collaboration with other teams such as development and operations to ensure the platform is reliable, scalable, and easy to use. So overall, platform engineering is going to play a key role in software testing because it provides the foundation and infrastructure needed to support the testing process. And by designing and maintaining a robust platform, platform engineering helps ensure the quality and reliability of software applications built on top of it. So I went to Google Trends and I typed in platform engineering. You can see near the end of last year, you see a spike going up. So this is increasing in popularity. It's almost like the SRE of 2022. Platform engineering, I think, is going to be the new SRE, the new DevOps, the new buzzword. I also spoke with a lot of different testers. For example, Evan talked about how he also is getting now involved in platform engineering, how he sees it as a growing trend. And he says, basically, it's all about automation. Automation is the end game. You're developing tools to automate processes that make the developer's software development lifecycle much more easier and more effortless. And I always think that as a tester, being able to expand your skills in areas that could benefit your team and your career is worth learning more about. And I think platform engineering is one of these areas to keep your eyes on for opportunities for growth in the new year. My 12th trend is AI assistance and automation testing. So you probably heard about ChatGPT by now. If you haven't, it's currently free. You should definitely check it out. And so how does this relate to testing? Well, what you can do is you can actually go to it and type in, create a, say, Selenium test for me that goes to testskill.com, goes to the search text field, types in Selenium, and then enters, and then it would automatically create the script for you. So I did a quick example. Here's an example of me asking it to write an automated test script in Playwright to go to test guild and enter test automation. It automatically generated the script for me. I also did a test with this with Selenium, with Cypress, with WebDriver IO. Basically, any technology, it can write the test for you. And while the test script is not always perfect, it's only going to get better. And I think it highlights the direction that AI-assisted automation is going. Just imagine if some of the test tools or IDs stop building integrations with ChatGPT. As you can see by the script, the next step would be maybe a button that goes, go to my IDE, create this test, and then run it. You can actually see this becoming more powerful as the years go on. I think it's a great starting point to then fix and modify and verify that what it's doing is what you expect. While it's not going to replace development skills or testers by a long shot, it's a great starting point and a time saver. I've seen a lot of folks downplaying this technology. Don't be one of them. At the time of this writing, this has only been live for about a month, and it's only been trained up to 2021 data. So in a few years, I think it's only going to get smarter and much, much more sophisticated. Don't overlook this. Be one of the first to embrace, understand, and use this technology to your advantage in 2023. So leads me to my 13th skill that I think you need to learn more about. Based on ChatGPT, I think you need to learn how to ask better questions. So this skill is definitely, as a software tester, something you're definitely going to be dealing more with as we start interacting more with AI or the things like ChatGPT. I even asked ChatGPT, tell me how the skill for asking better questions is important when working with AI technology. And it wrote, asking better questions can be important when working with AI technology because it can help you get more accurate and useful results from the AI system. For example, if you're using a language model like ChatGPT to generate text, asking more specific and targeted questions can help the model provide more focused and relevant responses. And this can especially be useful when you're trying to troubleshoot an issue or gather information for a specific task. Additionally, asking better questions can help you get a better understanding of how the AI system works and what it's capable of, which can then be helpful when you're trying to use it effectively, especially with software testing. So those are my top 13 trends. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me or not. And just to wrap up, so one of the burning questions I always get asked after posts like this or videos like this is, will AI replace me? Or will the current recession scare that's looming on the horizon jeopardize my job? No one can truly predict the way things will turn out because it's beyond our control. But in my 25 years of field experience and my humble opinion, what you can do is make sure you're always armed and ready for the latest info on current tech. What you can do is stay up to date with the industry know-how and relevant trends. And what you can definitely do is always strive to improve your skills and build a better network to help you in your career. And that's why I've always been in demand, regardless of how things turned out. I've been through maybe 20 layoffs in my career. And because I stayed up to speed with the new technology, I was safe pretty much every time. And that's exactly how I survived or even thrived over the decades. So if you're serious yourself and want to separate yourself from the pack and gain an elusive edge in your career in 2023, then you might want to take a closer look at Automation Guild 2023, since I designed it to address many of the trends we covered in this post. Perhaps celebrating the new year by investing in yourself to supercharge your end-to-end automation testing skills and get a leg up in your career is something you should definitely do. So definitely register for Automation Guild down below as well. So thanks for sticking with me all the way to the end. As always, test everything and keep the good. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell to get alerted every time I release another episode. Cheers.